Tecno may not be a household name, but it has a quickly growing smartphone portfolio that is reaching higher and higher segments of the market. And this is their latest mid-ranger, the Tecno Camon 19 Pro. This phone is very aggressively priced, but how does it hold up features-wise? I'm Will for GSM Arena, and let's find out in our full review. In many respects, the Tecno Camon 19 Pro is your average mid-range phone. But one way it stands out is that it has a telephoto zoom lens, rather than an ultra-wide cam. The Camon 19 Pro has a flat back made of plastic, with a soft gradient finish. The separated camera bumps do stand out a bit from the crowd, and the overall look is rather elegant. The glossy frame is plastic too, and the phone feels comfy and sturdy enough. It's hard to complain about at this price, but there's no IP rating here. There is a rubber gasket on the SIM tray though, which may offer a bit of protection. While we're here, there is support for dual SIM, but there's no microSD slot for expandable storage. You do get 128 or 256 gigs on board. The display of the Tecno Camon 19 Pro is a 6.8-inch IPS LCD with a 1080p resolution and 120Hz refresh rate. The high refresh rate is meant to smooth out the experience of swiping and scrolling on the screen. It's not adaptive to save energy, and is also counteracted by this display's sluggish pixel response time. There's noticeable blur and smearing, especially when scrolling finer text. Something else that's less than impressive is this screen's brightness. We measured a maximum of 480 nits, which comes way short of perfect legibility in sunny conditions. There are a couple of other nitpicks with this display. The colors aren't very accurate. They're noticeably on the cold side, and there are no options to change this in settings. Also, there is no HDR support. At least this display is sharp, and although it's an LCD, the contrast isn't too bad. You do get Widevine L1 certification for Full HD streaming too. When it comes to audio, there's a headphone jack, and you even get a pair of headphones in the box. The Camon 19 Pro has a single bottom-firing loudspeaker, and it earned a score of just average in our loudness test. The sound quality is far from impressive, but at least voices sound clean. You can wake up and unlock the Tecno Camon 19 Pro with a side-mounted fingerprint reader built into the power button. It's snappy and consistent. Now onto the interface. It's Tecno's OIS 8.6 on top of Android 12. Like a Xiaomi interface, you get a separate notification center and control center here. This version of OIS is not as bloated as previous ones we've seen, but there are still plenty of in-house apps, and you even get a separate app store. Some of the third-party apps can hit you with various notifications, but you can easily disable those through the notification settings. The Camon 19 Pro runs on a MediaTek Helio G96 chipset. It's the same 4G chip which powers devices like Xiaomi's Redmi Note 11 Pro. In benchmarks, performance is in the middle of the pack of competing devices, getting beat by phones that run on the Snapdragon 695 and higher-tier chipsets. So the Tecno Camon 19 Pro's hardware may not be the fastest around or the most recent, and it's not meant for demanding games, but there's solid performance here for your daily tasks. The phone also delivers very good battery life. The Camon 19 Pro packs a 5000 mAh power pack, and it was able to post a great endurance rating of 121 hours in our proprietary tests. And considering the large battery, charging speed is pretty decent. With the bundled 33-watt adapter, we were able to charge from 0 to 47% in half an hour. Now onto the cameras. There's a 64-megapixel main cam with OIS and laser autofocus, and a 50-megapixel 2x telephoto zoom. There's also a depth sensor. Like I mentioned earlier, with a telephoto instead of ultra-wide, this setup is pretty unique for a budget mid-ranger. 16-megapixel photos from the main cam look very clean, but the colors appear a bit undersaturated. The contrast also seems a bit off. Portraits are good, with competent subject separation. You can also take portraits using the telephoto camera. Zoomed shots come out at 12.5 megapixels, and in general they are likable, with good enough detail. The colors and contrast look okay, but don't match the main cams. In low light, photos from the main cam have enough detail, and the exposure is decent. The white balance is a bit inconsistent though, varying from shot to shot. Light sources are also blown out. While there is an auto night mode, the dedicated super night mode is the one which makes a far larger difference. It sharpens up the shots quite a bit, and renders light sources much better. Shadows don't get much of an improvement though, and each shot takes around 6 seconds to process. The telephoto cam is able to keep up with the main one when it comes to detail and color saturation, even though the color rendition itself is different. Light sources are blown out, and dark areas are on the soft side. The Super Night mode is even more aggressive here, and the level of sharpening is taken a bit too far. At least the light sources are restored. Selfies come from a 32 megapixel front-facing cam, and you get good detail and nice looking colors. These are softer than we'd like though. When it comes to video, the main cam can't record in 4K, but it can shoot in 1440p. These clips look good, with a solid amount of detail and nice, if slightly muted colors. The telephoto cam is limited to 1080p recording. Still, these have a decent amount of detail and look quite clean. There is electronic stabilization on both cameras, as well as OIS on the main one. You can smooth out big bumps or shakes, but the small movements and jitters are still there. So that's the Tecno Camon 19 Pro. It's a well-rounded mid-ranger with a solid chipset, great battery life, a telephoto zoom, and a competitive price. The main downside here is the LCD screen, which is large and has a high refresh rate, but its sluggish response time takes away from the user experience. Overall, the Tecno Camon 19 Pro is a decent phone, but it's not a clear winner. If you're after a device with a nicer display, in this crowded market you can find one for around the same money. Thanks for watching guys, stay safe and see you on the next one.